Hey guys, welcome back. As always, my name is Lazar, and today, my friends, we're gonna do something that I don't normally do, and there's a very good reason for that. So let me start the chicken way with a disclaimer, big ass disclaimer. I don't normally do feedback like this because I don't believe in it. I don't believe it has a positive effect or beneficial effect for anybody. You see, the reason why that is, there's a very fine line between criticism and outright bitching and whining. But I'm gonna give it a shot, at least this time, because this really bothers me. So let's get to it. It's about the current state of Warframe. Flashy title, easy views, absolutely. Right now, we have melee overpowering basically everything. And I'm not just talking about my beloved, and they are my beloved primaries and secondary weapons, but even Warframe abilities. Now, this has been pointed out several times throughout the course of a year now, and I think it's important for me to get my 2 cents in as well, just in case this is the small nudge the developer needed. Probably not, but you know what, I'm gonna get my opinion on record. We are in the state that we are because of a couple of key reasons, and the biggest one being the fact that they simply does not deliver on what they promise. This has been touted 1,000 times by 1,000 content creators, and I'm not gonna tout it again. It's as simple as that. They promise one thing and they do not deliver. Now, I'm not saying that there's not a good reason for them not to deliver on what they do, and I'm not saying they don't take responsibility for what they do or don't do, but that doesn't fix it or make it okay. Let's talk about melee, shall we? They had this grand plan. I loved their plan. Their plan was so ambitious, so grandiose. Dude, I was so happy first time I heard about Melee 3.0. And I followed the development of Melee 3.0. Remember how long it took, for bloody ever. And we still don't have it. And that's the actual problem. Because their plan for Melee 3.0 included a component that, from my point of view and from what I saw in their plan, was key for everything to go off without a hitch. That was the rage system that I keep talking about. You guys remember that? Now, the rage system was supposed to be like kind of a Devil May Cry trigger, right? You would build up a counter, release it, then you have more powerful moves, cooler moves, and so on and so forth. They even had this mock-up animation with Excalibur shown on a dev stream once. The problem is, eventually they had to scrap that part. They are currently not working on it, so what we have left is Melee 2.99, which is a goddamn mess. In what way is it not powerful? That's the problem. It's too powerful. It's more powerful than anything. You swing a melee a couple of times and the room dies. I kid you not. And most of the builds are the same. Build diversity is essentially dead. And everybody uses primaries and secondary weapons in a shooter, remember? This was supposed to be a shooter as just for a primer for condition overload. That's basically how you play. To do what exactly? Well, basically to play the excuse for an endgame they call Steel Path. Some players like that. I don't care about it simply because, well, I want them to develop an actual endgame and not call this the endgame. And the more players play Steel Path, the more successful it is, the less endgame we're probably gonna see. But that's not your problem, that's my problem. I don't like Steel Path. From what I've seen, a lot of players do like Steel Path. You know what? That's the first question. Let me know in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts on Path of Steel? So this is the reason why we are currently in this predicament. I believe that if we had that rage system to top it all off, to actually give you the power only when you had that rage system draining away, then that would have made a whole lot of sense. You know, you go melee when you're full rage mode. It's basically what you do in Devil May Cry. It's not that complicated as an idea. I'm sure it's very complicated or difficult to implement, but the problem is without that key feature, from my point of view, their key feature, their cherry on the cake, we are left with an overpowered melee system and no reason to use primaries and secondaries or even Warframe abilities. So I'm just gonna get Inaros because let's be honest, he's never gonna die, or a bunch of other tank Warframes that are never gonna die because easy mode gameplay. Never gonna use my primary, never gonna use my secondary unless maybe once upon a time to get a few status procs on that heavyweight target, and then my gameplay is reduced to this. E. You know what? It actually gets easier than that because I can make your macro, toggle it on and off, and we are done. That's it. It's over. That is your gameplay in Warframe right now. And a counter argument to that would be something like, okay, fine, maybe it's not a shooter anymore. Maybe it's a melee-focused third-person game. You're kidding, right? You are genuinely kidding with that. It has almost nothing apart from the looks. It looks cool. But there is no skill-based system whatsoever in Melee. You just, again, let me remind you. That's what you do. That's it. There is no fancy combos to execute. They managed to kill off all of those somehow. So initially they had these cool combos. You still have those cool combos that you can do, but pointless to do them because it's not as efficient as... That's a problem. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't have melee. Definitely, I love melees. They look amazing, flashy, but the system needs somehow to get you the power when you actually do something bloody special. Like, you know, the raise system was supposed... Yeah, that. Or maybe buff primaries and secondaries and Warframe ability so they are on par or more powerful melee. Now, I know what you're gonna say. Dude, that's just a problem with Warframe. It has a lot of problems. What about this, and that? Yes, we can spend the next couple of hours discussing the problems in Warframe, but I believe it's key to focus on the most important ones. Warframe, at its core, and what drew players in, is a shooter. It's not a shooter anymore. And you know what? I'm all in favor of a falafel with everything on it, but I think you messed up this time. Dear Digital Extremes, I love your game, but I think you kinda screwed up on this one. Don't wanna listen to me? Fine, it's okay, my ego is not that soft, it can take a bruising. But you have plenty of other content creators that have spoke out against the current state, Melee in specific, that have offered solid feedback. And you know what? It just kind of feels like they're screaming into a void and I'm just watching from the sidelines, except for today. I'll get in the ring today. And it kind of begs the question, why? Why would that be? Why would the developer constantly ignore solid feedback? So let's flip the situation around and try to think about this one. Logically, yes? Let's say you're the developer, right? And you have this community that constantly offers you feedback. And like everybody's kind of singing the same tune, more or less. And you're not doing anything about it. Why is that? Well, there could be a couple of reasons. First, you don't care. I don't believe that's the case. I honestly do not believe this is what is going on. The people at Digital Extremes seem very passionate about what they do. So I'm just gonna rule that one out for now. Doesn't mean you have to, but I will. You don't think anything's wrong and you think that the feedback is mistaken. This could be a possibility. Do you really think so, DE? Are you really happy with the current state of Warframe? I don't believe that the developer is ever truly happy with their creation until they meet their end. There's a bit of an old saying between developers, and not only developers, I'm talking about coders, programmers in general. The development of a program is finished when the developer dies. So take from that one what you will. And the last thing, you can't do anything about it. And I fear this might be the reason why. It's very clear that Digital Extremes has some bullet points that they need to bang out. Must release XYZ number of Warframes, weapons, and so on and so forth. Because at the end of the day, you gotta understand, these are just people. They are people going to work and getting a paycheck which is signed by somebody. And usually, if not like most of the case, 99%, that somebody is the one that gets to decide what gets done and what does not. So bear that one in mind. I hope that's not the case. But it is a possibility that Digital Extreme simply doesn't have the resources right now or is simply not allowed to prioritize something like this. I hope it's not the case. I hope it will change. My friends, can I talk to you for a second? Let's leave the out of this. When you offer feedback on somebody's work, and when you see that somebody put in a lot of effort, blood, sweat, and tears into it, can you tread a little bit more lightly? If you're gonna enter somebody's house tracking mud all over the place, so you're gonna get thrown out. If you actually wanna make an impact, do pace yourself. Offer solid, polite, respectful criticisms, and perhaps somebody, the right somebody, will hear you and do something about it. Yelling at the top of your lungs and insulting people all over the place isn't gonna get you anywhere. Now, before I go, there's one last thing which I do want to get off my chest. There's something that I always respected and admired about Digital Extremes. And you know what? You don't see a whole lot of other developers do this. Take responsibility. Saying they're sorry. And you know what, D? It's fantastic. I love the fact that you take responsibility when you think it's time to take said responsibility and say sorry. To me, as a consumer, as part of your fan base, that makes me feel better. It's awesome. The problem is, from what I observed over the last couple of years, most of the time it ends with you saying sorry. And don't get me wrong, saying sorry is all well and good, but you need to back that up with actual actions that at least try to fix the situation. And if you can't do anything about it, if you got both hands tied behind your back, then I believe you could find a way to let us know. And with that, I'm gonna call it a day. Honestly, I don't enjoy doing this kind of content, but I am interested in what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, my name has been Leyzar. I'm not gonna ask you to subscribe for this one. Nah, it's fine. You can leave this one alone because I don't normally do things like this. But you wanted my opinion, now it's on record, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.